seems like only yesterday we were saying goodbye to 2014. And now, look where we are. We're at our half-year videos. Strange, isn't it, how quickly time flies? It's a good thing in some ways. Obviously, vacation's in September, so that's all I care about right now. So, basically what we're going to do, if you're a regular viewer, you obviously know where this is headed. If you're a new viewer, number one, welcome. I'm Owen, this is AJ, and usually he's the one that talks and I'm the one that's off camera. But, when we do these videos, we're both on camera. So, we're going to do 3 videos. The first of which is going to be our worst of the half year. And our second video will be next week, and it's going to be the best of the half year, and we're going to finish it off with our most anticipated for the remainder of 2015. Now, the rules are as followed. Basically, anything can be eligible that has been from the beginning of this year until today. So the movies that we legitimately watched today, or yesterday, since you're watching, or a couple days ago, if you're watching this video on a different time, they're allowed to be included. Now, with the most anticipated, I'm going to throw this out, and this is especially true for my list. Some movies on my list may already be out. I just haven't seen them yet. So technically, they're still on my anticipated list because I anticipate seeing them hopefully sooner rather than later.
I did that with The Rover last year.
Exactly. And I definitely have one of those that's rather high on my list, if you know what I mean. So, well, that's a weird way to say that because I actually didn't mean to make that pun, but it's true. So, that being said, we're going to get started with our worst of. Worst of videos usually tend to do the best view-wise, so we're going to start off with our worst. Now, we're going to do 10 and a dishonorable mention. And we're going to basically, we're not going to back and forth this. He's going to give his 10, then I'm going to give mine, and then we're going to be... Well, our 10 and then our dishonorable mentions, and then we're going... That's the reason I was saying it that way. And then we're going to finish this video, and we'll see you guys again on next Monday when we do our best of. So, AJ, do you want to start off with your dishonorable mention of the first half of 2015?
Yeah, and the good thing is having done reviews for all these, this is a video where we can just go through them quickly. So
yeah,
we'll just throw out maybe a couple of sentences of hate, and then we'll move on.
Yes.
Okay, my dishonorable mention is Aloha. Which obviously was Cameron Crowe's last movie, and we all know the kind of phase he seems to be in lately, even though I do like We Bought a Zoo. But this was really, really sloppy, all over the place. There was something about... It goes back and forth between happy romance in Hawaii, and then love triangle or whatever, and then suddenly space, and satellites, and Bill Murray. Most of the time I had no idea what the fuck was going on in this movie. And it's sloppy from the word go, too. That opening scene at the airport was, like, traumatizing. And, yeah, there was a couple of performances tried to save it, but for the most part, no. And apparently a lot of people got controversial with it because of the whole, Emma Stone's supposed to be Chinese thing, or... But yeah, there are much worse... If you haven't seen it and you only heard about that, there are much, much worse things to hate about this movie, I promise. So there's that. Number 10 is Adult Beginners, which is that movie Nick Kroll wrote, where he was basically trying to cash in on Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig's success by remaking The Skeleton Twins. Mm-hmm. And that's just failing miserably. Even though it has Rose Byrne and Bobby Cannavale in it, they're fine and everything, but Nick Kroll is the star of this movie, okay? And he was a writer on it, I believe. And it's a movie you've seen from beginning to end before. You know exactly where it's going. It's the, unlikable narcissist goes through a phase and ends up becoming the likable guy that likes to hang out with children and gets a girlfriend and stuff like that. And now we have to love him even though he's been a piece of shit, played by Nick Kroll, for the entire hour and a half we've been watching. And that just makes for a really unappealing experience.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So not a lot of like visceral hate towards these towards the bottom, but I really, really don't like them, and I'm happy that I'll never have to see them again now that they've already been reviewed.
That's a good point.
Yes. Number 9 is The Longest Ride. Nicholas Sparks' latest movie. that tells you everything you need to know.
It's very true.
There's cliched storylines. There's people that you're supposed to relate to doing extremely unrealistic things. There are extremely forced conflicts. There are 2 hours and 15 minutes of runtime. And they try to do, this time they try to do a parallel story, but it's basically one story mirroring the other. So it's basically a shitty Nicholas Sparks movie times 2 in one go. Awesome.
It's very true.
So, that's pretty much what that is. It's basically a prolonged version of 8 Seconds with a second story thrown in. And if you haven't seen it, that's not a compliment, bringing up 8 Seconds. So, that's what that is. Number 8 is Taken 3. Obviously the first Taken is what it is, everybody likes it. A lot of people hate the second Taken. I took to it.
It's not bad.
This one basically the Brian Mills character goes against everything. I mean, I know in movies like this, maybe that's not important to you, whether the character sticks to his principles and all that stuff, but given how iconic this character's kind of become, like, from that phone call and everything, he's basically, a lot of people throw around the word iconic like it's nothing. And
yeah, of course.
Tends to piss a lot of people off, which is true. It's kind of losing its luster when you say it, but I'd say Brian Mills is almost in that group.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that quote in that poster is something everybody knows now. That is so not the character that's in this movie. This guy is dumb completely. He goes to a crime scene and sees a knife on the ground and picks it up before the cops get there. His special set of skills pretty much only come in handy of getting him into more trouble and possibly causing a lot of innocent lives. And, spoiler alert, it takes Forrest Whitaker the entire movie to prove Brian Mills' innocence because of warm bagels. And there's a whole other hour and 40 minutes of other stupid shit in between all that. So, yes, that I am not a fan of. 7, we're getting bad now. I didn't mean to line it up this way either. Number 7 is Seventh Son.
Oh.
Which was, a lot of people thought was going to be the Norbit situation for Julianne Moore, even though that's a stupid myth that's now been disproven by 2 people this year.
Very true.
Yeah. You have Jeff Bridges, and you have Julianne Moore, and you have Ben Barnes, who was in Prince Caspian. Everybody forgot he existed. Well, he tried to come back. He really did. This movie was postponed for like 2 years, and it's clear to see why. Because it's this really, like I said, it's basically, you had Aragon in 2006, that dragon movie that totally failed, that a lot of people were looking forward to.
Yeah.
If Aragon had been a success, this would have been, in 2006, this would have been the cheap money grab follow-up to it in 2007.
Yep.
That's what it comes off as. And it's a really dumb movie, but it's one of those ones where the more it goes, just the fucking dumber it gets. And by the end of it, I almost just left it, honestly, because I couldn't handle seeing one of my favorite actors and one of my favorite actresses in this movie. It's horrible. It's really torturous, and I don't know why they would do that to people that respect them, but I don't know what drew them to this, but shit happens with acclaimed actors. It happens all the time. Number 6 is The Duff, the really, really terribly unfunny remake of Angus starring Mae Whitman and a bunch of other people. I think Ken Jeong was in there just because they thought it was 2008 when they made this movie, I guess.
Very true.
And this movie is not only aggressively unfunny, but seems to have its heart in really all the wrong places. Like, I had no idea what this movie was trying to do, and I thought it failed at absolutely everything. It being a message movie, it being a comedy, it, being something people can relate to. I just thought it absolutely failed on all levels. But the thing that baffles me more than anything is that people like this movie.
They really like this
movie.
A
lot of people like this movie.
Yeah.
And I was shocked, because when I was watching it in the theater, this was the day before it came out, so I hadn't heard anything. While watching it in theaters, all I could think was, I could just very easily see this being one of the most hated movies of the year. Like, I could just see this being one of those movies where it becomes famous for how fucking terrible it is. I get out and read the reviews the next day and people like it?
Critics like it, not just fans.
That is lost on me. The whole fucking thing. That is not something I will ever be able to understand.
The Parenthood fan base,
It was shocking to me.
Yeah.
It really was. I don't know, but that's the best I got here.
I love Mayweather. That movie made me sad physically.
Okay. Number 5 is Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. Now, once again, let me stress, the thing about it, the reason this movie is not higher, and the reason I didn't absolutely hate it the way I imagine a lot of people probably did, was that it's one thing to be really, really not funny, and to just be absolutely desperate for these terrible, terrible laughs you're going for. But I seriously felt like, I don't know if it's just because the movie wasn't funny at all, or if this was just their approach to it, but in the entire first 45 minutes, that's the entire first half of the movie, it just felt like nothing was happening. Like, I couldn't even tell if they were trying to be funny with things. It was just kind of a movie that was just going from one place to the other without doing anything. I assume there were attempted jokes in there, but they were so bad I did not even see them. And then in the second half, the Neil McDonough plot kicks in, and then it just gets fucking stupid. But I was relieved when it got fucking stupid, because at least it was doing something when it was being fucking stupid. Which is in that kind of sounded like a backhanded compliment. No, there was no compliment in there at all. That was strictly backhand. So, yes, I got nothing for that. Number 4 is The Boy Next Door. Now, look, I get what's going on with this movie. I understand that people want to take to it as this cult thing, where everybody thinks it's so bad it's hilarious, and because of this they actually get enjoyment out of it. I know, they're really trying to make it that movie, and a lot of people are buying into it. But I just thought it was... It wasn't bad in an entertaining way. It was just strictly terrible. And not in that kind of way. There was no fun about this movie at all. It just fucking sucks. A lot of people like to jump on the first edition of the Iliad scene as something really, really stupid that it does. That's kind of the tip of the iceberg. There are so many things wrong with this movie in how it handles its genre. Because I kind of get it the way it's playing it totally serious. I believe it's really under the impression it's being a serious thriller. But, once again, much like the reason it's on a list like this with all these other movies, these are just failing on all the levels they're trying to be successful. And in some cases, it's quite mind-boggling. So, I think that's what it was. Like, if it was... okay. Reviews in the past have told you that probably if it was trying to be a campy movie, I probably would have hated it even more for trying too hard. But still, the fact that it was trying to be a really serious thriller, in this case, does not help it in any way. Not at all. And, yeah, I know a lot of people are really going for they're entertained by how bad it is. I know people that have seen it more than once because of that. I cannot imagine that. But, yes, it was not working on any level for me, even in a guilty way. There's no fucking guilt for me when I got out of that theater. Alright. Number 3 is Vice. I don't know how many people even know what Vice is, but Bruce Willis is going through this phase right now, post-Red 2, where he just doesn't give a fuck anymore. Because I reviewed The Prince last year, and I think there's another one in there somewhere. He's doing stuff like, what was that movie? I don't even think I saw it. That movie with 50 Cent. Not The Prince, the other one he was in with 50 Cent.
Might have made The Prince better, actually.
But anyway, and that's what he just comes in and he plays like these stock villains that just don't do anything. He just puts on his Bruce Willis face permanently. It's not even his Bruce Willis face. His Bruce Willis face is fierce. It's like bored Bruce Willis. Bored Bruce Willis is its own expression now.
Bored Willis.
I guess.
I'm waiting for the meme to start. Bored Willis.
where he doesn't care. It's kind of like he, a lot of his expressions when you watch him in Cop Out. That's pretty much what his permanent face is now. He just does not care. And in this movie, he doesn't even leave the room that he's in through the whole runtime. And he's the villain of the movie. And not in like a cool Dr. Claw way, he never leaves the room. He just stands around and looks at monitors and sends out bad guys to shoot at people while not even really aiming at them. And that's what the movie considers action scenes. Just people running while they're being shot at and not even being close to hit. And then you have Thomas Jane waltzes his ass into this movie as our hero. And he has the, what word did he keep using? I mean, I can't remember now. It was a drinking game you could make out of it. But it was one of those, you know, like, how Tommy Lee Jones' character in Men in Black is kind of a parody because he keeps saying, like, you know, Bud and Chief and Cochise and stuff like that. Yeah, Slick, yeah, that's it.
Slick.
I think Tiger might have been in there once. It's one of those. And he says it in almost every single sentence. Because he has to be, not for a comedic effect, not because he's kind of being a somewhat parody like Tommy Lee Jones was. It's because the writers were trying to write him as like a badass Jack Slater cop type. So he walks around, he's got the badge on the chain, he's got a toothpick constantly in his mouth. And he says, you know, Chief or Slick or whatever the fuck. Pal! It was Pal! He calls everybody pal when he talks to him.
Oh God!
And it's like that guy. It's like every sentence. He's got the big sunglasses to go with it too. He's that guy. We're supposed to take this guy seriously as an action hero.
No,
Thomas Jane, I can totally buy as a serious action hero.
Yeah,
but not here. Not in any way.
Sounds like it.
And that's totally the writer's fault, because you could tell he had not a fucking thing to work with here. I don't know how. Maybe they got Bruce Willis first, because Bruce Willis was like, oh, a script, I don't give a fuck. And then Thomas Jane was like, whoa, you got Bruce Willis in this movie? Cool, I'm on board. I'm going to give Thomas Jane the benefit of the doubt and say that's what got him into this movie.
He's one step away from doing Wendy's commercials at this point.
And it's basically, if you don't even know what it is, it's basically like, it's trying to be like Gamer. Or that movie that Bruce Willis was in that had Ving Rhames in it. Surrogates.
God.
It's basically those two movies. Yeah, that's a really overused plot now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit doing that.
It's true.
So somebody finally had the balls to finally bring up, when they were talking about Ultron, how he does the no strings thing and he can control everybody with himself. Somebody finally had the balls to bring up on the internet that Michael C. Hall did that first in Gamer.
He did. It's very true.
The Sinatra song. That's great. Just wanted to do a little plug for Gamer there, because I do that a lot for some reason.
Got a feeling that'll happen eventually. Who knows?
Okay, there's a couple of things to talk about here, why this is a travesty. My number 2 is Clown. Clown is basically, in the review I think I compared it mostly to the Haunted Mask episode of Goosebumps. But, Clown is basically a dude is late for his son's birthday party, so he puts on a clown suit, and the clown suit possesses him, and he actually, like, physically, gruesomely takes the form of a clown. Like, the skin off his nose gets ripped off, and that's supposed to look like the red clown nose and stuff like that. They did it in a really gruesome fashion. And the thing about it, Eli Roth's behind this movie too. I think he was it's one of those, like, he presents it or something. Everybody thinks he wrote it and directed it, even though he's just like, hey, I'm gonna push this movie out there, and then he gets his name on the poster. And as you know, there are totally things that I can do there are things that I can watch that are really, really revolting and disgusting. I did, when I did Saw and Hostel as a versus, I praised both of those movies.
Yeah.
And Hostel 2, I have been known to praise. This movie is just sick in all the wrong ways. Because it sounds like it could be taken as a campy approach in a really, really over-the-top fashion. But what it basically is after he's possessed by the clown, he turns into a monster and eats children. Graphically, on screen. Children die horrible, horrible deaths in this movie. And you could probably see that as in a really campy, over-the-top way, something that's fine. They play this off like straight horror. This movie is so serious. And it does I don't think it would have even worked as an over-the-top campy thing, but playing it totally serious just makes it this totally... I mean, you could argue that this makes it effective, but that's not what I'm talking about. This movie is just fucking disgusting and unpleasant, and I really, really hate it. And the thing that boggles my mind is not only that, this movie is so fucking ugly. This movie is revolting to even look at. And the guy that directed this got the new Spider-Man movie. John Watts is his name, I think. And that's a terrible thing to say when just last year I put a Spider-Man movie on my top 10. And now that we're being demoted to this, this is just all things. Not only did this movie kill my soul and give me an incredibly uncomfortable, horrible experience for an hour and 40 minutes. It's not even like a swift 80 minutes. It's like an hour 40, and they really, really drag that runtime out. They really, really want you to wallow in just the disgusting nature of this movie. You had to go and kill my anticipation of Spider-Man. So, yes. Just, even if this is your kind of thing, I'm telling you, don't. Yeah, I really... No. There's nobody I can recommend this to. Sadly, there's a few people that come to mind where I think they'll probably like it anyway, just because they were that into the genre. Mm-hmm. But even as someone as into the genre as I am, this was just... No. Just fuck no. Speaking of fuck no, the worst movie of the year so far, which will probably still be on this list somewhere when we do it again. I'm not quite sure where, if it'll still be in the spot maybe, is Accidental Love.
I figured that was happening.
Which is the movie that got shelved, has been shelved since 2008. David O. Russell made it, and then had his name taken off of it. Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Biel are the stars. There were times where they were forced to leave the set by SAG rules because they weren't going to get paid, because nobody had the money. Crew members had to just up and leave. And then, eventually, they decided, now that O. Russell's really taken off, just Russell. A lot of people think he's Irish when you say his name. It's O initial Russell. The O stands for Owen.
Yeah, of course it does.
And they're, cashing in on this now because ever since The Fighter, he's really, really taken off. Mm-hmm. He had a fan base with I.R. Huckabees and Three Kings and stuff, but once he got the Oscar attention with The Fighter, he's been an Oscar juggernaut ever since, with Silver Linings Playbook and American Hustle and Joy is this coming year. So they thought they were going to take... It was initially called Nailed, where they were going to take it... Let me just tell you the main plot outline if you don't know what it is. Jessica Biel is a waitress at a Sonic ripoff, and she goes on a date with James Marsden, who's basically walked off the set of Super Troopers, complete with mustache. And while they're trying to fix a chandelier in the restaurant they're at, a nail comes down and gets lodged in her head, and makes her do crazy things and get really, really horny, and she eventually goes to Washington, D.C. and gets involved in politics and lesbian Girl Scouts, and falls in love with Jake Gyllenhaal, who's basically recreating his performance from Bubble Boy, which when you watch Nightcrawler and Prisoners and Enemy and Zodiac and all that other stuff, you thought he had long since buried that performance and hoped that it would never come back into his life. Well, here it is. I'm guessing that he performed... Because he already had Brokeback and Jarhead and stuff by the time this movie was made, so he was probably thinking this movie was never going to see the light of day. So he just went to set and fucked around. Well, unfortunately, this movie has now seen the light of day, and it's a horrible, horrible experience. And there's really no... Apparently there were key scenes in the script that weren't even shot. And that shows, because it's so weirdly put together. The camera movements are actually nauseating. And just, there's a moment where Marsden has to track down Gyllenhaal. And there's this thing where he's like in a Tarzan getup, and he's fighting dudes in the mud in the middle of the woods in a cult. And there's no explanation for where that came from. That's what that movie is. And I don't know. And it's got a huge cast list in it. Mm-hmm. I can't even go through all of them. I don't even remember half of them, but a lot of fucking people are in that movie. Just look it up. But yeah, it's clear this movie was never supposed to see the light of day, and I have no idea who watched that footage and said, fuck it, let's do it. It should have just kind of stayed wherever it was, and I think probably everybody involved with that movie is really pissed off that it's out there now.
Sounds like it.
I don't know. If I were Gyllenhaal, I would be. I'm sure. David O. Russell is always pissed off, so I'm sure he is. His name in the credits is Stephen Green. So yeah, that's what that is.
Oh boy. These are the times that I'm very glad I don't watch everything that you do. But then, herein lies the problem. Most of my stuff, actually all of my stuff, is mainstream. Which means I may have to put something on a list that if I had stuff like Clown and Accidental Love, if I'd seen those...
Twice.
Oh, God. Yeah. I may have replaced some of these mainstream movies. But I've noticed that the monitor above me is dark, so we'll have to get that information real quick. Since we have the mouse, and we're going to start off my list. All right. A lot of similarities. One similarity that is absolutely the same. We have the same ranking for one movie on there, which is interesting. All right. Now, he went on for almost 27 minutes, and I'm probably going to go on for 5, so we'll see where we go from here. My dishonorable mention is Jupiter Ascending. Oh, boy. It seems like a movie that could have worked, and it had all the right elements in order to work. It just didn't work at all. I mean, that's the best way to put it. It just did not work at all. And Eddie Redmayne, as welcome to the club, sir. You have performances that we obviously don't speak of because we had to eat a lot of crow the awards season. And then we have this, which is like, hee hee, we were right. And then now he's going to go off and do another movie that's going to probably win a lot of awards. And then we're not going to eat crow this time because we'll predict it. And then he won't win. And there you go. That's the way to do it. Channing Tatum's great in everything he does. I've never seen a performance of Channing Tatum I haven't enjoyed, at least. And no, Channing Tatum's good in Step Up.
He doesn't think so. He's
No. If you want to have any sort of redeeming quality...
You said you didn't like G.I. Joe.
I liked him in G.I. Joe. I like Channing Tatum as an actor. He's a great actor. A lot better than people give him credit for. And he's really funny. He's got great comedic timing, too. We've seen with the Jump Street movies. And he's great in Magic Mike. I mean, his comedy in Magic Mike. And, I mean, obviously, he's got a background in dancing, so the dance movies do work for him. But then he breaks out something like this. And I think Mila Kunis is absolutely adorable. But this story, oh my God, it just like, it was one of those things that just makes my head hurt.
Channing Tatum did do an interview recently. He brought up that he's not proud of this.
Oh, I wouldn't be either. And like I said, Eddie Redmayne, if you're watching these videos, hi, by the way. And 2, when it comes down to it, seriously? Really? It's just so over the top. Like, you basically channeled, like, Ralph Fiennes as Lord Voldemort. I always said that every time that we did the reviews for that movie. I was like, oh, he's basically playing Voldemort.
What a lot of people don't like is not just the shouting, but the fact that every time before he shouts, he's whispering.
Yeah.
So he just goes back and forth.
Oh my God. So yeah, the reason why it's dishonorable mention and it's not in the top 10 is because, to be totally honest, I didn't absolutely despise it enough to put it in the top 10. But there's a lot to hate about this movie. As apparently the light flickering, they agree. Whoever they are. Alright. Okay. My number 10 is Old Fashioned. Okay. So, during the release of 50 Shades of Grey, which, trust me, we'll talk about in a little bit, someone decided it'd be a great idea to put out a wholesome romance faith-based movie and put it right against 50 Shades of Grey and open it up in a very small amount of theaters. Great move, guys. Hope you enjoyed your $15. if it made that much.
The reason I meant to mention this before and I didn't. The reason that none of the faith-based movies are on my list is because there were a couple on there that would be for sure, but I kind of just felt like because there were so many of them and they are all pretty much equally terrible.
Yeah,
it would have taken up a lot of space, and just having a whole bunch of kind of the same movie on there would make it kind of boring. So I just thought they spoke for themselves, so I just kept them off.
I just spread them out. Made it easier that way. And to be honest, and I'm sure you're probably going to agree with this when I say this, I've been a lot kinder to movies this year. There's not been many I've absolutely hated outright. I've liked a lot more than I have hated, so it was a lot harder to make a best list than as a worst list, which is weird for me because that just doesn't happen. It tried to be wholesome, and I know that the people that saw it, that went in for the message, they got what they wanted out of it, and they weren't seeing, obviously, 50 Shades that week. There was a lot of controversy about that, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But still, it just fell flat. I mean, the characters were wooden. I guess the best way to describe it. I mean, literally,
that's the nicest way to describe it.
It was like he was standing outside. He was going courting, and he was like knocking on the screen doors, like, "Can I come in?" "Yes, sir, you may." And I was like, "Really?" I mean, like, this movie was made in like 1954.
Clay.
I know.
I
know his name was Clay.
I still remember his name was Clay. I need to get that out of my head.
Oh my god.
There's much more important things that could be in my memory bank than that.
Like his name is Robert Paulson. Alright, let's talk about number 9. My number 9 should be a whole lot higher on this list. But I don't know, I guess I'm probably just like, maybe I'm getting a little bit more generous in my old age. My number 9 is Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, which is legitimately probably the first, or at least just a handful of times I've actually called it that. Yes. And I believe AJ actually called it what we truly call it on the review, so...
Yeah, I think I even, headed the notes in my notebook with it.
Because he shows me the notebook before we're sitting in the theater getting ready to watch the movie, and he's like, "Hey, look at this. Get ready." And it simply says Paul Blart asshole at the top of the screen. The paper, not the screen. I mean, if it would have said that, it would have went up like 15 cool points, if that's what they called the movie. And made him like a... Yes. Made him like a Ronnie Barnhart. Because that's the mall cop I want protecting my mall. Without a doubt. And Aziz in the... I would want him there too, talking about Chick-fil-A. Trust me, we'll talk about Observe and Report one way down the line, mark my words. The one thing that puts it a little bit lower on this list is the Disney fan in me, obviously, and that's the fact that Rainy Rodriguez and David Henry both were basically love interests in the movie, which is a really strange thing if you watch them on Austin and Ally or Wizards of Waverly Place. It's really strange to see those two get together, but I mean, that's kind of the plot they were going for. It's just, I don't like Kevin James. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I mean, he was a wrestler, so I should have a connection to him, but I don't. I don't. I've mentioned so many times, like a billion times on this channel, about what I think about Kevin James and his correlation to Chris Farley. I don't want to bring it up anymore. I'm just going to say right now, I don't like Kevin James. He needs to find a performance that gets me to enjoy him. Screw him for making me think he was good in The Zookeeper, but that's a little bit more of a personal thing than anything else. But, like, the Sandler movies where he's basically, like, buddy-buddy and getting paid for it and taking vacations.
Zookeeper's a Sandler movie.
That's the problem with it. That's the biggest problem with it. You took something that I hated and you got me to somewhat like it. But then again, Melissa McCarthy did that this year too, so there you go. Anything's possible nowadays. Anything to say about it?
No, but I do have something to mention that I happened to glance up and see something on your list that apparently is so bad I completely forgot about it, but it totally should have been on mine. But
I think I know what you're talking about too, and I think it's a lot higher on the list.
Yeah, so... We'll just say it was so bad I forgot about it, and we'll stick to the ones I have.
That's horrible.
I get. I don't know why I didn't... You'd think that would have been the first one that jumped in my head.
It was always really high on my list. Obviously, that rating right there, that ranking, if you're looking at what I think you're looking at, that never changed. I have always had that at that spot. My number 8 is Taken 3. Brian Mills, you just need to take yourself. Seriously. I think more entertaining at this point would be to have Liam Neeson in a marked white van, and he basically tries to kidnap himself. Because That's what we've come to.
He calls his own voicemail and leaves a message.
So my favorite part of this movie is when he gets his daughter to buy this yogurt drink that she drinks like it's Alice in Wonderland, and it makes her sick, so they can meet, because obviously everyone's looking for Brian at the time. And I thought this was great. It's like, what if, like, someone beat her to it? Like, if there was another runner that got there, and the next thing you know, you just, like, made this poor, like, running guy really, really sick for no reason. And then, who knows what happens? Maybe you never run your daughter again. Maybe you get gunned down in the parking lot. You never know.
Don't forget he has a magical antidote for it, too.
It's true. It's like, drink this, it'll make you sick. It's like, drink this, it'll make you well. And I was like, seriously, it's like, it might as well be labeled, drink me. And seriously.
It was.
I know it was. That's the bad part about it. Speaking of labeling things, I'm going to label number 7. Like I said, we agree on Taken because it was both number 8 for both of us. And we have no knowledge of either one of our lists going in. Like, the only reason you know my list because mine is high above your head right now. Otherwise, you would not have known this. Whew. Sorry. My number 7 is 50 Shades of Grey. The only thing that 50 Shades got right was the sex. The weirdest way to put it, it's the truth. It's the only thing that actually played well in the movie. The characters, oh my god. What's her name? E.L. James?
Something like
Just
that.
stop. Just stop. Seriously, you're making it bad for everyone. You really are.
She thought if she took... It's a she, right?
Yes.
She thought...
Yes, it's definitely a she. I've seen her picture before.
She thought if she took the J.K. Rowling approach of having the initials... And there, it could be E.B. White, too. That's a totally different scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
50 Shades of Wilbur.
Oh my god.
Imagine that movie.
Do better than this. I don't know, bestiality I'm not down with, but still. It would be done with, like furry suits and everything. No, we don't want to talk about
We've
that.
gone too deep. Get out.
We must crawl out of the rabbit hole. Okay.
I was thinking Wilbur with other pigs. You took it to bestiality.
It's late, sorry. Well, the thing about it is I think Dakota Johnson is pretty. I think she plays the Bella role decent. Because that's all this is. It's basically, it's pretty much Twilight. In all essence, I mean, there's been comparison videos of the two, so it literally is the same story. It's just the fact that Edward doesn't have any money. He doesn't have, Christian Grey money, so, I mean... They both have the personality of a door.
Well, apparently they live in a really nice house.
Yeah.
The Cullens do.
That's true.
It's not... I can't believe I'm discussing Twilight right now.
We were going to do that eventually, but it never was going to happen. But, yeah, I mean, the characters are wooden. They're poorly written. I don't really want to read a good old-fashioned 1982 Harlequin romance novel that's got, Fabio on the front and with, in a sea captain suit and stuff like that. That's the kind of writing this is. I don't understand why everybody marks out for this stuff, because this is horribly written. I was like, oh, he's tortured. I don't care. This is... I mean, I'm going to go down this route. It is a terrible story. I mean, he is a very, disgusting individual. I don't care what made him the way he is. His character doesn't matter to me.
Give him a break. He's 50 Shades of fucked up.
Oh, God. This review is 50 Shades of over. And not over in the way I usually use it. Number 5. I love Shailene Woodley. I really do. She's endeared herself to me for a long time. Then she decided she wanted to start making young adult novels into movies. And now we have Insurgent. Oh my god. Oh my god. I know what you're thinking. Oh, and you don't read books. Oh, I do, but not those kind of books. I mean, you don't read this, so you don't know. It's like, well, with some of these, obviously, I don't read these books, no. But like I said before, numerous times, I don't think you have to partake in one medium to fully enjoy another. I mean, that's just how it works. With me, at least. I mean, it's badly done. It's shot okay, but, the action scenes are kind of just, That's the best way to put it, I guess you could say. I mean... What's his character name again? Jai Courtney?
It's a number. I don't remember.
4?
Probably.
Yeah, he am number 4. So, and he is a horrible, horrible actor. I don't know why.
I think you're talking about Theo James.
Yeah.
Jay Courtney's one of the trainers or whatever the fuck he is.
Oh yeah, okay. It's just they all mix together. Yeah, Theo James is a horrible actor. Horrible actor. I mean, there's no chemistry. Just like with 50 Shades, there's no real chemistry. It's not believable. Thank you, Miles Teller, for giving me a couple minutes of enjoyment.
Dude, don't fucking forget Ansel Elgort's in this movie.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about him. We already talked about him last year. Yeah, for all of you out there that loved our reviews of The Fault in Our Stars. Yeah.
He's in Memo and Children, too.
I didn't get to talk about that movie because I didn't get a chance to see it, but you kind of bashed it, so...
It was just weird.
Alright, yeah, I don't like young adult novels, apparently.
Well, the thing, in my experience, those people that complain that you didn't read the book, the thing is I don't remember how this even came to be. I read The Host before we saw it.
Okay, I remember that. I remember you telling me about that.
And, of course, the movie is a piece of shit.
Yes, indeed it is.
It's not a terrible book, even if it is by Stephanie Meyer, but I didn't think it was bad.
Okay.
The thing is thick, and I got through the whole thing. So, with the book not being that bad, and me thinking the movie is a piece of shit, that seems like it's more susceptible to where if you did read the books, they'd just be worse movies. I know that's not always the case.
That is true.
In the case of this particular area, I can't imagine it being...
And the book readers generally judge the movie for, is it just like the book? Is it like the book? Or all these things happen in the book? And the moviegoers that don't read the book are like, nah, this movie's a piece of crap, or this movie's phenomenal. I should read this book now. And then they're never happy because most of the times the book is better.
All you notice is the stuff that's cut out of the movie for time.
Exactly. 100%. It's like going back to watching The Golden Compass. I had to hear 1,000 things that were wrong about it that weren't in the movie, that were in the book.
See, I don't understand if you read the book's criticism. So.
I never got that. Oh, God. Top 3. Coming up, but I have to get through this one first. Okay. Britt Robertson has, a double life. For me, I guess you could say. Because it's kind of like, spoiler alert, if I put her on my worst list, it's kind of strange that later on in the year I may put her on my best list. For 2 completely different reasons. Obviously. I'm talking about The Longest Ride. Oh my god. Okay. The only thing I can say about this movie, and I think it sums everything up, save a horse, ride a cowboy. That's it. Straight up. That's the rodeo they're talking about in this movie. It's a euphemism. And we talked about it at length. I don't need to mention any more. Britt Robertson is a very, very attractive lady. But, oh my god, these movies are just... Nick Sparks, man, seriously, you have fallen, sir. Obviously, greatness, The Notebook and A Walk to Remember. It's just... And then it's gone. Nothing else. Nothing else. For me personally, nothing else. And you have 1 billion books. Literally. I could probably line this entire room with your entire books. I didn't know bibliography, that'd be the word I was looking for there. But, book series, bibliography?
You could just say library.
Your entire, I was going to say your film library, and then I was like, no. Well, that too. All your books, all your films, I could probably line this entire room with them. That's what I'm trying to say. Get kind of tongue-tied sometimes. But, yeah, I don't like Nick Sparks at all. I mean, he's basically become self-parody. He's ripping off his own stuff now. He's not just ripping off other things, he's ripping off his own stuff now. And it's not working.
The Longest Ride is better than The Best of Me.
I completely agree with that. And how that's not on here is anyone's guess.
Because it was last year.
Yes, that's the reason it was not on here.
Because I saw it the day after my birthday.
Oh, God. Happy birthday.
Well, we had seen Fury the night before, so that made up
okay.
for it.
Yeah, I remember those days. Okay, number 3. Tell me, AJ, do you believe?
I believe Sean Astin is desperate.
Oh, my God. How the mighty have fallen. I can't really call him mighty, but I mean... Poor Sean Astin.
Especially when he had asthma.
Yeah. It's funny that I'm talking about this movie now that you're wearing the Goonies shirt.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's just... Oh, my God. Okay. People that want to get a message out of faith-based movies, they're going to get that message. And that's all well and good. And I completely understand. I'm not going to bash that at all. I judge a movie for a movie. And these faith-based movies are just getting worse. They're just getting worse. And Pure Flix, it's all your fault. And we got another one we got to deal with this week. Like, literally tomorrow. We got to deal with another one of those movies. Right after we just got out of Terminator. How you love that.
This one has Stephen Baldwin in it. Well, he's all over his born again Christian thing. I'm surprised it took him this long to be in one of these.
I'm surprised he didn't finance it himself. To be honest,
he doesn't have that kind of debt. Alec does. He does not.
This is the reason you got fired from Celebrity Apprentice, Steven. Should have called Alec.
He did the first season.
He didn't do it the second time.
We're getting really sidetracked now. So,
well, I'd much rather talk about Celebrity Apprentice than talk about number 2. My number 2 is Get Hard.
I guess I just forgot about it.
I really wish I could. Okay. Another thing you should know about me. I like Will Ferrell. I know AJ doesn't. Not really. Old Will Ferrell, you probably dig a little bit more.
Talladega Nights was the last time.
I mean...
That was 9 years ago.
And... I don't know. I guess I just kind of have a soft spot for Will Ferrell for a couple things. I mean, I didn't hate him in Bewitched. I actually didn't mind that movie. It was fine. I remember watching the TV series growing up, and he's got a lot of really interesting serious performances too.
He hit a new low on Lifetime recently.
Really?
That whole thing that he and Kristen Wiig did is supposed to be like a 2-hour joke about Lifetime movies, and it just I'm never gonna watch it. I
have no idea what you're even talking about. This is news to me.
You probably should keep it that way.
All right, right on. It's just I like Will Ferrell, but he's good in doses, like small doses. Like he's fine unless he's completely right in your face. And this movie. I thought I would dislike this movie. I didn't think I would hate this movie. And I absolutely outright hated this movie. Now, to go with the Kevin James line, I don't like Kevin Hart. But there is a couple of times, and very few times, that he's actually funny. He's a good stand-up, but it doesn't really translate well to his movies most of the time. He's a one-note joke most of the time. It's like with McCarthy. When it comes down to it, if you're playing on that one joke and that's all you're going to try to get your laughs on, it's going to make the masses happy, but it's going to make a lot of filmgoers I don't know about this. But for some reason, like with McCarthy, a lot of people out there really like Kevin Hart. Really like Kevin Hart. He's got a nice personality, but I mean, he doesn't...
They miss Chris Tucker. That must be what it is.
That has to be what it is. I mean, got Chris Tucker, come back, please. So, it's just... It's mind-boggling to me how a movie like this can get made. Because obviously before this, we had Ride Along, which apparently has a greenlit sequel already coming out soon.
I think they've already made it. It just has to come out.
And, which I hated that movie too. It's just...
He had one really close together with that, too. It was Think Like a Man, too.
The Think Like a Man series actually works Kevin Hart really well.
No, it doesn't. The only time recently I've ever thought, okay, I'm not annoyed by him here is The Wedding Ringer.
I was getting ready to say The Wedding Ringer, yeah.
Which is a movie that surprisingly a lot of people hate.
Sometimes critics just don't agree sometimes. This is how it works. Okay. Cut this off long enough. My number 1 for the half year is not animated this time around, so you don't have to worry about that. There's no animation on this list. That comes later. Much later, like a week later. My number 1 for 2015's half year is The Boy Next Door. I hate this movie. Hate this movie. Remember those, Cinemax, softcores you get at 3 o'clock in the morning? With, Sherilyn Fenn and, Shannon Tweed, Red Shoe Diary, stuff like that.
Your mind jumps to porn a lot when you talk about it.
No. I'm going with that because I'm trying to make a point.
Okay.
Take that, and you keep that there, and for some reason, just keep it there, and then you're like, okay, I love the storyline with Fear, but I want to use it differently. So let's steal that, because we'll just take that over there, put that there with the fin. It's like, so you got that, and it's like, let's try to make a movie out of this. And make it an 80s, like, thriller, but have it fail in every way possible. This is a movie that WWE films wouldn't touch. That's the best way I can describe this. And WWE films has had some good stuff, like Dead Man Down. But if they have stuff like The Call, which we talk about all the time. And... oh, gee, my God. 12 Rounds was good. But, I mean, like I said, for every good WWE movie, you've got like 35 bad ones.
To my understanding, Dead Man Down was pretty much already in production when they
put the WWE Films logo on it. Executive produced by Vince McMahon. Well, I saw like 15 pages of the script. I'm going to be a producer now.
Here, Wade Barrett, have a job.
All right. So, basically... I was winning the Barrett voice. That's another video. Yeah, I hate this movie. I really do. And I hate the fact that people like this movie. I know that's a horrible thing to say, but I'm sorry. You're wrong. This movie is not good. And there's nothing redeemable about the movie at all.
I don't know that there's that many people that actually like it because they think it's good. So you can give them a little credit.
They like it, like, ironically, basically?
Yeah, that whole thing I just went through when I talked about it.
That's the only thing that comes to mind. I hate this movie. I don't know if it's going to be in the worst of the year, but this year's actually, like, pretty good when it comes to movies. It's really hard for me to come up with, like, a best-of list, but we'll see where that goes next week. So, yeah, Boy Next Door, don't watch it. Just forget it even exists. Until we talk about it, probably at the end of the year.
If you were going to watch The Boy Next Door, you probably already have.
Yeah, most likely. If you're like, it's on your Netflix queue, or, like, you're getting ready to go out to Redbox and go get a movie for the night, don't let the picture fool you. It's not any good. So, that being said, that is your worst of the half year for 2015, and we will join you a week from today for our best of the half year. And we're going to talk about a lot of things that we both enjoy. There's a lot of similarities on our list. There's a few differences. But that's how it goes with best of lists. We generally somewhat like the same things when it comes to movies. Sometimes we really disagree on things. Other times we don't. But I guess that's how best friends are. So, see, the light agrees with us because it flickered. It's like Tinkerbell. Now, we've come full circle talking about Mae Whitman and the Duff. So basically, that's what we've got for today. Later tonight, we are going to be doing another edition of the WWE Raw, the WWE Raw podcast, and that's going to be with me, Aaron, and Ashley, and that's going to be coming your way later tonight, and tomorrow you can catch the archive if you miss it. Wednesday, we're going to talk NXT and Impact. Thursday, Brandy Sip and Snack. Friday, AJ's movie reviews. We'll be tackling Magic Mike XXL, Terminator Genesis, and Faith of Our Fathers. Should be fun. Saturday, Gaming with Ash, and Sunday, brand new verses. We're going to go into Killer being your cryptic comment as we kick into July. And don't forget, we got a podcast coming from the Tokyo, Japan WWE show, which is going to start at 5:30 a.m. on the WWE Network. We're doing a podcast right after that, so stay tuned for that. More Horror Nights news once we get any. So that being said, we want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And AJ, any parting words?